Welcome to the Agoracom Small Cap Stocks Best of the Best weekly show. I'm George Cholas, founder of Agoracom, the Small Cap Epicenter, and with us, as always, our chief market commentator, Allan Barry Laboucan. Allan, say hello.
Hello, everybody. Got a great show today. Lots of good picks. George and I will have our regular fisticuffs, so let's get to it.
All right, so yeah, because by the way, my apologies for last week, but I was in Arizona, went for a boys football weekend, and I couldn't make it back in time, so that was on me. But we're back here again on Monday afternoon, Monday evening, best time for everybody. Let me pop in my screen share here so everyone can see what we're going to be talking about today.
While he's doing that, yeah, we've got some oil picks, we've got some gold picks, we've got some big news happening in the industry, so yeah, it's a good mix there, George, and we'll get on to it.
All right, so let me do.
You don't see it on your screen yet.
So you can't see it on the screen yet?
Now I can.
It's there, right?
Yep.
All right, so first company I want to talk about is Xylitol. Okay, this isn't the Agoracom client. God disclosed that. XYL on the TSX Venture Exchange put out great numbers again. So I'm going to pop these open, just read them off to everybody. The company announced so quarterly and 9-month revenues. Okay, revenues for the 9 months, $6.3 million. That's up from $3.9 million for the 9 months in 2013. Fantastic growth. For the quarter, for the 3 months ended September 30th, revenues $2.2 million versus $1.47 million last year. So when you talk about that kind of growth, top line, when you talk about the fact that their customers are Loblaws, Whole Foods, Costco, Dundee owns about 29% of this company. I'm not going to talk about price. Obviously, I can't because they're a client. I'm just imploring everyone, you've got to go take a look at this company. It's growing so fast. And Allan actually just happens to be a guy who uses some of their products because they are a natural sweetener company, 100% natural company. It looks like they're taking the retail space by storm at that kind of growth, and I think these guys are going to be a great business success, not stock success, but a great bit. And there it is. Allan, go ahead, tell us about what you're holding there.
So not only is this a client of yours,
Put it
George,
up again because I think people didn't see it. Now they'll see it.
not only is this company a client of yours, but I'm a client of Xylitol. There is the strawberry jam. As you can notice, it's it's about halfway empty. Why I like these products is they're a good alternative to sugar. They give you the sweetness with half the calories, and so that's my plug on why I like the company. And also, I'm noticing some good changes with the running of the company. They brought some good people in. I think that's reflecting in the numbers you were talking about, George. So, yeah, I won't make any comments on the stock either, but yeah, I'm a customer.
And I'll tell you what's really exciting is Q4 is the busiest time of the year for these guys. So you know, every Q4 it's their biggest number, and they're already up to $6 million plus in the first 3 quarters. So looking for a great number there. Fantastic, and that's all I'll say about that. Next company I want to talk about quickly is QE2 Acquisition Corp. You can see right here, TSX Venture Company. They just started trading. Okay, so I'll even show everyone.
George, QE symbol.
And the symbol is QE. QE and QE2. The reason the name comes from the highway that connects Edmonton to Calgary. This is the company is acquiring. So it's growing by M&A, and it's acquiring companies in the oil
service.
No, not oil service. That's it. Sorry, in the utilities, utility services. You know, companies that are putting up rails on highways, taking care of light standards. So they work with the government. It's all infrastructure. So infrastructure services. Sorry, because I kind of blew it there. They already reported $2.3 million in revenue for the quarter ended July 31st, and this is a company to watch. They're going to be a client of Agoracom, but definitely a company to watch because it's a company with real products, real businesses, and a great acquisition strategy. I just finished an interview with them before Allan and I got on the air here, and that'll be available for everyone to see. So look for that on Agoracom. watch that interview, and then start your own due diligence. So
Monday, you're going to be able to watch it on Agoracom TV, where it'll have a marquee place on the website for everybody to find, won't they, George?
that is going to happen in our redesign, that's for sure. But in the meantime, you'll find it on the front page, you'll find it in the news flash, you'll find the blog on Twitter. It'll definitely be out there for everybody. So that's the extent of what I want to talk about. I want to point out fission uranium. And Allan's going to have something to say about this.
This was the reason I wanted to talk about this one today, George, is you made George and I often are on Twitter, and by the way, folks, you can follow me at Allan B Reports at Twitter, and George is just at Agoracom. That's spelled AGORACOM. And then we've also added a hashtag today, so if you want to go to hashtag Talking Stocks, and if you have any questions, we'll try to get them in during the show. What was my line of
fission uranium? How I sold it, and people can see here. I just brought up the chart quickly.
The reason I brought up George, the reason I brought up Twitter was because you and I had an exchange over there, and then William Cholis, your nephew, and I had an exchange, and we have some good exchanges on there. I really encourage everybody to check us out on Twitter as well and start following us there.
All right, so fission uranium is something that I sold right here. I'd actually you're probably going to think I made a great profit. It's the opposite. I bought it right about here just a couple of months ago. Didn't realize that it kind of broke my rules. Took some massive paper losses. Didn't actually lose the money. But when it got up here, I sold for a loss of just $200 or $4,000 I was facing. A lot of that confidence comes from the fact that Allan bangs the table on fission. We know it's a fundamentally strong company, so I didn't have that much fear on its return. I thought I was going to wait till after tax loss selling, but I sold it on technicals because I actually said it was technically over. It got to a very resistance point here, and just to show take a small loss, reload. You've heard Allan say this a few times. You reload, then try and buy it back cheaper. So I'm going to try and buy it back in the somewhere in the mid 80s. Around there as we get tax loss selling season come in December.
So I think if I remember correctly, George, when you were talking about that on Twitter with me, you were saying that you thought that in between here and the end of the year you'd get another chance to reload during the tax loss selling season.
Yeah, pretty confident. I think we're going to get now. I could be wrong, but I would think there's a 75% chance. I'm going to look. It's already cheaper, which is great. I'd really like it in the mid-80s. I don't see it get back in the 70s again. I don't even know what that was, Allan, so we're not going to talk about that because we talked about it back then.
Uranium price movement.
What the hell happened back then? But I think going to be able to pick it up cheaper, and then that's going to be a great, I think that's going to be, and uranium prices apparently are on the rise because Fission tweeted that today, that uranium prices are on the rise again. So I think they can do it.
That's the one thing I added that I think you have to be a little careful as to how deep you might be able to get it for tax loss selling because the counter force is that uranium prices are starting to go up.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll be fighting against that. I think that will bring some new buyers in. Well, maybe tax loss sellers are selling, so it might half it off. But that's what makes a trade, right? So I thought it was good commentary.
And I've got a whole tax loss selling list. I'm not going to disclose it all here just yet, but as you know from everyone watching these shows, I'm not going to be too much of a hero and buy too much next couple of weeks. I'm going to wait for tax loss. But Avalon Rare Metals is one, trading at 22.5 cents.
If you're not going to disclose them.
No, just a couple. I've got 20. I've just got a couple that I like. Avalon is one that I love.
Never mind. Save that for the show coming.
And take a look at this, Timmins Gold. Now, look, you and I talked about this last week at $1, right? It's already back to $1.16. Had a big day today. So some of these you lose in the process as you wait. And I should have jumped on Timmins earlier, that's for sure. But just want to give everyone, just want to tell everyone at home that I am putting together one hell of a list for tax loss selling season, and we'll talk about that more as the time nears. So,
Yeah,
Alan, you
I had to give you the gears about that. I'm not gonna disclose it. Then you did. George, you've changed up the format a little bit. Just for everybody to know, we're gonna next go into about a half a dozen picks that I have, and then we've got some commentary at the end of the show that we generally do at the start of the show, but we'll move it to the end of the show today. George and I are on a bit of a time schedule today, so we're trying to blast through everything, and the picks are the most important.
if you want, okay, I was gonna say if you want, we can go into the discussion first and then the picks.
No, then we know our timing better, George. We can keep the commentary down to a shorter time frame if we.
So, Romarco Minerals, TSX, 68-cent stock right here. So I'm going to bring up the chart for everyone to be able to see it on the right-hand side. 68-cent stock, technically looking very strong. R on the TSX trades 2.5 million shares a day. I love that. Great liquidity. Why should we like Romarco Minerals today?
Yeah, well, George, I just talked about this company I think in the last 2 weeks or so because they got their permits for a mine down in I want to say North Carolina or something like that, the Hale mine. I think it's North Carolina. Anyways, they've had some more news out about progress with the company. This one's on the financing related stuff. So it looks like this is a go-ahead now, and then you notice on the stock side, you can bring it up there, George. I don't want to. We'll be taking too much time if I flip back and forth between charts.
November 7th, that news came out. You talked to everybody about that. So you were talked about somewhere in the low 60s here, and it's at 68 now, which is great. The chart is looking pretty decent for a company like this. It's sitting right above its 9-day moving average, and it looks like it's already had its tax loss selling take place because look at that at 55 cents. What do you think about this? Is this?
I seem to have lost you there, George. I lost your audio.
Back? Can you hear me now?
Here we go. I can hear you perfect.
All right. So where do you stand on Romarco? Would you be buying it right now?
Yeah, George. This one is a very oversold gold company. They've been waiting on permits for a long time. The market was unsure of whether they would get those permits or not. Now they've got the permits. They've also arranged financing. This is on its way to being a future mine. It's the Hale Gold Mine, and I think that this is a good combination. South Carolina. I got the Carolinas mixed up, George. It's got a good property. It's going to be a low-cost producer, pretty high grades. I like the project a lot, and this is going to be a future producer. And I love those plays when they go from junior explorer into producer. I've had several of those in my career, and this is the next one.
And here's the one-year chart on it. Been very stable over the last year. A bit of a dip by here, so if that's what's happening, you can't really go wrong. I love to see it break out over its 200-day moving average at around 77 cents. It gets above that, I think it becomes a strong buy. Ivanhoe Mines, IVN, also big board TSX, does about 600,000 shares a day. Again, I like that, so it's about more than $500,000 in liquidity. What is it that you're liking about Ivanhoe Mines right now?
Well, one thing I always pay attention to, George, is when Robert Friedland's involved with the company. So this is his company. They had some really good news out recently on the permitting for their. They've got their rights. They got the final approval for mining rights and development, which is the final thing that they needed from the Department of Mineral Resources. And they're going to be a future producer. They're going to have one of the most important platinum palladium producing mines, new producing mines in the world.
Take a look at this one-year chart here. So a year ago is sitting in the 220 range, and today it's sitting under $1. So you get it at a 50% discount. Is there a reason for that discount other than
No, it's more price to what's happening with commodities. But look at the very end of that, George. That's around the time that they announced that they got their approval, when it seems to have bottomed and starting to trend upwards. I think that's the trend of the future. You're talking about the trend of the past. Like I said, this is a world-class platinum palladium project. There's very few of those, and it's run by Robert Friedland.
And let me show everybody one last chart just before we move on. This is the 2-year chart, okay? This isn't anything outrageous. And you're talking about back in January of 2013, sitting in the low 5s. So I've got that rule that if a company is off by 80%, still it's great fundamentals, you almost have to buy it automatically, especially at this time of the year. So I'm liking Ivanhoe Mines a lot here. Risk reward very much in favor of buying at this point. Talisman Energy is next. TLM trades on the TSX big board. 3 million shares a day. So this is $20 million. This is $20 million in liquidity every day. Big, huge name. Typically not someone we'd be talking about, right, Allan? But have a look. I mean, these guys were trading in the teens.
Well, George, in my career, I've had opportunities a few times where big cap stocks get beaten down so much in the mining. In this case, it was in the past during 2008 when the mining stocks got beaten down. I remember Tech was trading at $3 a share. That was 4 years ago. Now they're over $30 a share. Sometimes these stocks get just beaten down below what, to the point where I can start looking at them. Usually I'm looking at the smaller kind of companies, but now you got Talisman down here at $6, 52 weeks. It's been over $13. They just had good third quarter numbers, but I just look at this stock and it's totally based on the price of oil dropping lately. And I think that the oil, whenever oil gets below $80, or I'll give you a little tip, anytime you see a commodity going below the average cost of producing it, I don't care what the commodity is, I start to get excited. In the case of $80 oil, that's my litmus. I'm also there on gold and silver right now as well. So, find quality now, because I don't think you're going to get it this cheap for a long time, George. And
technically speaking, I brought up a chart here. It looks like it's on the oversold side. Could have a little more room to drop. However, take a look at the stochastics, at the MACD, sorry. The moving average convergence divergence starting to turn upwards here, which means that it looks like the momentum the downward momentum has stopped, and it may be on the, the momentum start, even though you can't see the share price yet, momentum's on the way back up. So I would be, especially me, I'm an aggressive trader here. I could definitely be a buyer here at the 650 range and set 591, the lower end of its Bollinger Band, as a stop loss. But I like that pick a lot.
Yeah, and I like that stop loss you talk about there, George. Good one.
Petro One Energy is your next one. POP trades on the Venture Exchange, does 400,000 shares a day, trading at 25 cents. I think this is a new one. I don't know if you've talked about this one before. Here's the 1-year chart. Had a great run here. Look at that, right up to just more than 80 cents back in the summer. Ironically enough, that's the peak of the Venture Exchange for this year as well, right there. And then this drop from 80 to 25. So you've got a company that's lost 70%. I'm doing some quick math in my head. 70% of its trading value in just a couple of months. What do you like about POP here, and why will it not be a further victim of tax loss selling? I got to ask.
This is another oil play for me, George. This is a real small oil play for me, and why I like it, I've been following the company for a couple of years. I know a couple of the large shareholders of this deal, and I've been following it closely. They're a growing your production kind of oil play, and I've seen some good changes on the fundamentals that can help them to increase their daily production. And you can check out their recent quarterly report there. They had an update to shareholders. That's why it came up on my screen. I have talked about it 1 or 2 times in the past, but yeah, it's a play for me on the oversold oil. Plus, it's a growth story of a junior that's trying to build up its daily production, and I like their chances of doing that based on the news that they've had and the people involved.
All right, so that's one to watch for sure, because I'm not familiar with it, so I'm going to get familiar with it. But at this price,
don't you remember, George? You liked the stock symbol when I talked about it before. POP.
All right. Yeah, that does ring a bell. Madalena Energy, so sticking with energy, MVN on the TSX Venture Exchange, 2 million shares a day in volume at 33 cents, so more than 700, somewhere around $700,000 a day in dollar volume. I like that. What do we need to know about Madalena Energy today?
So here's another one, George, that it's along what I've talked about earlier. I've got some oil picks today. I've also got some gold picks. The reason, again, that I'm liking oil is I just get excited about commodities when they trade under the average cost of producing it. And Madalena is one of those. They're another junior. They've got some good projects down in South America that look interesting. They're definitely going to need better than $80 a barrel kind of oil, George, because they're looking at these shale type operations. They're also in Argentina, and they've got some projects in Western Canada as well. So they've got good diversification there. I've been watching their numbers, and it all looks really good with this company. Yeah, it's a play on oil too. I just think oil's way too oversold here, and we're going to see a pop on oil stocks. And I make the same argument for gold as well.
And based on that, I'm not sure if I'd be a buyer of Madalena. I think in times like this, when oil is being challenged, you want to go with companies that are going to be a little bit stronger, and you've got. Well,
for those people, then you got Talisman.
That's what I'm saying. You've got Talisman there, right? And Talisman, I think, is a great great pick. Ascot Resources, TSX Venture Exchange, AOT, $1.91 is where it closed at today. Average volume is 130,000 shares a day. So again, $250,000 a day in dollar trading volume. You can see the 1-year chart to the right. I mean, this really came to life in August. This is the antithesis of what's happened on most of the venture exchange. But from August, it's had a great move from sub-dollar to almost $2 right now. What is about Ascot that we need to know?
Yeah, well, this one, George, I picked up on really early. I actually remember talking about it on the show before that big run-up. They were just starting to do some work. It's got a really strong management team there that has a lot of experience looking for gold in British Columbia. And then they had results out. Here's the kind of results that they're hitting, George. This is just very extremely high-grade gold. 1,115 grams per ton gold and 481 grams per ton silver over a meter at their premier project in British Columbia up near Stewart. This area around Stewart is definitely a place that you can go looking for high-grade gold, and Ascot has definitely found that there. There's 2 projects that I'm watching very closely in that. Well, 3 projects that I'm watching very closely. One of them's an exploration company, IDM. We've talked to their management in the past, and I actually noticed that he's watching our show today. So thanks for joining in there. But then I'm also watching very closely, and George, you've heard me talk a lot about Pretium, another extremely high-grade gold project, and then also this Ascot. AOT, I like those drill holes a lot. I like what they've got coming out of that project, and it's also it's a good play on a great discovery, and also we get some good moves in gold and silver, and it should participate in that as well because it's a premier discovery.
I gotta tell you what I like about it is the fact that it's been able to hold that move that it made. If you can see my chart here, you can see the move it made from 90 cents that just over 220, and it's still been able to hold it despite what's happened on the TSX Venture Exchange and the small cap, especially in gold stocks over the last 3 months. The fact that it's been able to hold it, I think, is a good sign that shareholders of the company are holding firm.
Yeah, these projects, these kind of high-grade discoveries, George, they just don't come around very often. But I think it's crucial in this time to be looking for high-grade because the high-grade projects are the ones that have the margin that they can still be operated at these prices. So any upwards movement in the price is just gravy, and so that's what I'm looking at with Ascot.
And Rob has chimed in saying he's got a few comments on AOT and asking us to also look at TUO's news today. Rob, can we hear you if you speak up there?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Allan, can you hear him?
Yep.
All right.
It's kind of
in terms of Ascot, if you can see right in front of the camera there, that's some high grade from the Premier Mine Glory Hole. You know, if you look at any of the deposits like Pretium in the Stewart area or Eskay Creek, they're known for the phenomenal grade. And you know, I know where they're drilling. I used to work at that mine as a mill operator when I was a university student, and it looks like they feed into another real high-grade zone there. I think this really is one to watch. I know a buddy of mine that I met for coffee last week with a major mining company is looking at it really closely. Ascot's a great company to follow. Now, they're pretty fully valued, in my opinion, a little under 200 million market cap, I believe. Also, they have some big cash payments coming up, so you have to watch those. But really great to see them find that high grade. Also,
what was that other one you mentioned, Rob?
I just got up here. TUO, Teuton Resources, trades on the Venture Exchange. Closed today at 7.5 cents. Does an average of 50,000 shares a day in volume. So still on the light side. But Rob, hopefully you're giving us something that's that everyone at home should be discovering, because they had news out today. It looks like from the little N I'm seeing here.
Yeah, this is another example in it. You know, I told you guys about the IDM story with the rapid glacial retreat. They announced some drilling today from their Tuck Zone discovery, which it was named after a helicopter pilot who was flying one of the crews out to site. And when he was flying back, he got weathered in, and he landed up on this area that had recently melted. And there's quartz veins all over the place, and he brought back some pieces that had some visible gold. So they announced, you know, they're mostly sort of 20 to 30 meter intercepts of about a gram, but it's a brand new
that's
discovery.
what I was going to say, Rob. When I looked at the results quickly, I was noticing that they're not they're not those high grade numbers. What is it that, if I see those lower grade numbers, I generally want to see thicker intersections. What is it about these holes that has your attention?
Well, it's located, actually, it's quite close to Valley of the Kings. And so, you know, whether you're looking at some of the big deposits there with, you know, tens of millions of ounces like Brucejack or like Mitchell, you know, often they'll start out with, you know, some 1 to 2 gram type numbers. But it's a really strong altering and mineralizing system, and they have visible gold. So it's a brand new discovery. So, you know, they didn't hit it out of the park with the first round of drilling, but it's pretty encouraging that this is something brand new melted out from under the ice.
On that note, Rob, we'll definitely put it on the radar screen, and thanks a lot for your input. We're on a bit of a tight schedule today,
That's
so
awesome.
we've got
That's awesome, Rob. That's great. That's the power of this technology and what we're going to be doing in the coming months. That's awesome.
Plan.
Okay.
Thanks, Rob. Keep watching. We love you.
All right. By the way, I was going to show a quick stock chart for Teuton there. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it correctly, but you know, it was a relative sleeper until it made this massive jump in August, and now it's come back and given most of that back. So Rob may be onto something here, that the market likes this, and you may get another run out of it. So this is definitely worth putting on the radar screen, given the fact that it's already shown a propensity to make a pretty strong move.
And I liked what Rob had to say about the mineralizing system. You know, he's right on the money there. So they might be on the edge of something, George. But when you start getting those sniffs, that's when you want to try to pinpoint your targeting for future drilling. So that's great. Let's do our next one.
PPY, Painted Pony Petroleum. Another one of these big ones here. I like to see that. So there must be a good reason. TSX Big Board, $11.60 was its close today. 63 trades 600,000 shares a day. So dollar volume liquidity, not a problem whatsoever. Let's take a look at the 1 year chart. Surprisingly, has had a pretty decent number. Hasn't had a major fall off, given what's happened to oil. Definitely taken a bit of a beat. Technically, what I like is it's sitting right above its 200-day moving average. You can see this here. The green line here is its 200-day. All right, so don't follow the crosshairs. Follow the green arrow. and you can see that's the stock price come down, but held the 200. So should we be buying the 200, Alan?
Well, somebody just did a bought deal financing for $55 million, George. So I think somebody thinks it's a good.
Clearly, they don't know what they're talking about. They haven't spoken to me yet. But no, I like that. I like the 200-day that it held that. So they did a 550. For those of you who aren't familiar with what a bought deal financing is, that's when an investment banker comes forward and says, we guarantee that you're going to get this money. We're not going out there to try and raise it. You've got the money. It's done. And then they'll probably go out and raise it afterwards. But good to see someone putting $55 million behind it. So is this strictly a technical buy for you here, or is this a long-term buy?
Actually, it's a combination of both, George. You look at how this company is held in for an oil company while the price of oil is getting hammered down, and then while the price of oil is getting hammered down, they're able to do a bought deal financing. I'm seeing a lot of relative strength on that stock. I've been watching their story for a long time. I've spoken about the company in the past. I really like their portfolio of projects. This, getting that kind of confidence in the market while the market is kind of weak, I think is another excellent indicator of the potential of the company. So yeah, I mean, anytime you follow smart money, I think it's you're not making too many mistakes, and it's pretty cheap right here, or it's at the same price as what they did the bought deal at. So you're buying it at the same price as smart money.
Yeah, and I got to figure, smart money isn't always smart money, but if people much smarter than you and I are going to invest $55 million at that price, at the very least you've got to take it and maybe.
Well, George,
maybe
that's not much of a threshold. Smarter than you and I.
And I would set a stop. All kidding aside, I would set a stop loss here, Alan, somewhere in the 10, somewhere right down here. Its recent lows in the 1050 range. If it gets below that, because it's had some good long-term support there, you might want to bail out. But I like that pick a lot. And finally,
yeah,
gold.
George, let's make that our last pick. Let's get on to the topics now. I had one more company there, but I've talked about that one a lot. And it was Premier Gold. I wanted to talk about their recent results, but I noticed that we're getting a little short on time here, and I did want to talk about a couple of those topics. So PG is their stock symbol. It's a great company. They've done a lot of great work. They've got 3 multi-million-ounce gold deposits, resources, one in northern Ontario, one in Red Lake, and one down in Nevada. They all look really good. Premier's a great company. I've talked about it lots, and it was just, I noticed that I was looking at the technicals, and I liked what I saw for a short-term trade.
Yeah, and there quickly is the one-year chart for everybody. I mean, Allan's made big calls on this all along the way. Look at this high that hit back in July. Now it retested the high 180s, and you can pick it up in the low 2s. From a risk-reward point of view, I love this. I love this stock, and I love this company, and I love the guys behind it. So let's talk about some. Oh, by the way, very quickly in 10 seconds, I forgot to mention the fact that I picked, and I put it on Twitter, I bought BSM Technologies GPS this week at $1.23. In fact, it hit a low of $1.15. I didn't see it because such a big drop so fast, but I bought as fast as I could at $1.23, put it out on Twitter, said there's a very, very strong buy, and sitting at $1.45 today. I may take the profit here, but I may give it a couple more days just to see what it can do, because I like the action right now.
Good deal.
So go ahead. Al, let's talk about a couple of topics that you want to. Let's do one of those 1-minuters, kind of like on the sports shows that we see where we argue for a minute.
Okay, yeah, first of all, you and I had a little battle on Twitter. You made a comment that it looked like you were already banging the table on the price of gold. Me and a few other guys gave you a little hard time because you've been beating me. You've been pounding on me so relentlessly for the last 3 months on every gold pick I've made. So I wanted to get some clarity out there. Are you now a bull on gold?
No.
A bull on gold stocks? You were banging the table the other day. What are you doing today, Georgie?
So I attribute the misunderstanding to the fact that Twitter only allows you 140 characters. So if I could have expanded that, what I meant to say was what I've been saying on the show all along, which is I think they're a great junior gold company. I mean, fantastic companies trading at ridiculous prices. Even if I'm not bullish on gold, these companies are just too cheap. I'm not buying them yet. I'm putting together my tax loss selling list, and then I'm going to be making those buys when we do our show sometime in mid-December. So what I meant to say was banging the table, because a few times on the show I've said I'm not going to be a hero. I did not want to buy during the fall, but I did say I was going to be a buyer in the winter at tax loss selling. So that's what I meant to say. But am I bullish on gold? No, I'm not overly bullish on gold right now. I still don't see the catalyst to make it go on a run, but I'm not. It's down near the bottom. I always had 1180 was my number with a possible overshoot to 1150. We're there in that area. I don't see any more downside for gold unless something really unexpected happens. So risk reward, gold's in your favor.
I think I got your catalyst. I'm not going to beat you up too much on your sort of, I see a lot of analysts and newsletter writers out there that sort of give these half-assed calls and stuff like that. And I'm not going to beat you up too much.
That ain't me, because I actually post my trades on Twitter the second I make them. I put a timestamp and a price on them. So don't come close to telling me I'm Gartman.
While all this last 3 months you've been giving me a hard time about my gold picks, and you've been constant, and I've been consistently bullish. You've been consistently telling people to wait. You have been right. I've been wrong. One thing that you've been saying all along, and by the way, George, you're a short-term trader. I'm looking for swings, right?
Sure.
And I also said when gold was at about 12.10 that I wouldn't even care if I lost that last $60. I'm okay with that because I'm looking for the swings. You're looking for the shorter-term trades. But you have consistently said something that you've been looking for a catalyst. And that's the second topic I wanted to talk about today, George. I think that we might be having a catalyst.
All right, talk to me.
3 takeovers in the industry.
Right.
Since we missed one show last week, so it's been 2 weeks since we had a show. We've had a takeover with BYV merging with another company. What was the other one? Oh, Duluth Mining got taken over. And now today, Virginia Gold has been taken over by Osisko. Now, the biggest of all those deals is the Osisko buying out Virginia Gold. I've been following both of those companies. Those companies were both picks of mine when Osisko was like $1. This was long before they got taken over by Agnico and Yamana, and now they've started out their royalty company, and they're taking out another company that I've been following for years and recommending, which was Virginia Gold. Virginia Gold has the royalty on the Eleanor mine in Quebec, and Osisko Royalty has the royalty on the Osisko Malartic mine. So now those two companies are creating what they referred to as a Quebec mining house with those two assets.
Yep.
And I've known Andre Goumond, who runs Virginia, since before he made his initial Eleanor discovery. So I've known him when he was not really wealthy, and I've known him since he's been very wealthy. This guy is a true gentleman all the way around, but an extremely brilliant guy when it comes to mineral exploration. He's always been focused on Quebec. Quebec is one of the best jurisdictions in the world to be mining and developing. And so you're always looking for a catalyst, and sometimes, George, that catalyst isn't told to you in the market from stocks getting beaten down. It's when the market tells you that these things are too cheap and it's time to start consolidation. So maybe that.
I got to tell you, I don't disagree with you. In fact, I think you hit it dead on. This is exactly the kind of thing I've been waiting for, to get to this point when companies are being taken over. They get so cheap that the big guys are using their equity and their cash to take these companies. This is where I want to be. I think the risk reward on junior gold companies right now is extremely high. I love it. This is where I want to. I didn't like it in August. I didn't like it in September. I didn't like. This is where I want to be, and now we're going into tax loss selling season, so you can afford to be a little more patient for another 2 to 3 weeks. But Allan, I think you're right. I've never been a gold bear. I just saw that there wasn't a catalyst. I saw some weakness in the chart.
I get it.
But I love the space. It's not going to go away, right? This is not and the cheaper the price gets, the more demand there's going to be for some of these juniors who have smaller deposits that can shore up the reserves of these bigger companies. So I think this is an amazing. You and I are going to be very in simpatico over the next couple months. And I want to leave maybe bring in Rob for a quick 30-seconder there, Rob, before we shut off the show. What do you think of the M&A activity you're seeing on the junior side and the small side of things?
Yeah, well, it's great to see some deals like the one, the Duluth Metals one was a real opportunistic one by Antofagasta. I know those guys pretty well. With Anto, they actually had withdrawn from a joint venture agreement with them about a month earlier. Share price went down, and they said, "Hey, here's a new opportunity that they can pick up for really for pennies on the dollar, and take the decade-long time frame it's going to take to develop that thing." But yeah, you see companies like IM Gold with a lot of money right now that they need to deploy, and I could see some of the smaller, low capex type projects out there or companies being acquired.
Do you have a couple? You have a couple of symbols that people should be watching for? You have a couple of candidates?
Yes, I'm a director of Gold Standard Ventures. If you guys follow them,
GSV.
Yes, we do.
GSV.
Yeah, we do.
They have a near surface oxide heap leach deposit similar to Newmont's most profitable mine in Nevada called Emigrant.
This is by the rail. This is the rail. This is right the railroad project, right?
Yeah, it's a railroad project. They have lots of targets, but what I could see producers be, and I got to be careful again because I'm a director, but there is quite a bit of interest, and there's big shareholders like Agnico in the company that like that low capex, near surface oxide, something you could build for less than 100 million that would have a real good margin. So these type of deposits I could see in these type of companies. Another one would be Midway with their Pan deposit.
What's their symbol? Do you know?
MDW.
MDW, just punched it up. Yep, got it.
Yeah, so that's another one of these.
This is another one we've had on our show before too, guys. Midway. I've talked about that one, George.
All right. So those are two symbols that you like, Rob. I'm sure you like more, but it's great to have at least those couple. By the way, ask Jonathan not to call me. I've known him for years. Him and I play a little bit of telephone tag, but we definitely want to talk to him about potentially bringing him on the show a couple of times. So if you get on the phone with Jonathan anytime soon, let us know. We'd love to have him on.
Yeah, I'm supposed to chat with him later this afternoon. So
tell him he's on the show. He'll be thrilled.
Okay.
All right, guys. I think that wraps up. Allan, do you got any closing comments before we close up there? But fantastic show, and Rob, thanks for joining us in like that. That's fantastic that you're able to do that. Allan, what do you got?
I'll try and make it regular. Let's get more guys watching this.
You got it.
You bet. Get more guys participating too. They just need to join in, and we'll take the questions.
Well, a lot of people are watching this later on in the evening. They're watching the on-demand version, the live version. We haven't really promoted a lot yet, but we're definitely going to do that most certainly. But you're getting 300 or 400 people watching this afterwards when they get home and they've put the kids to bed. But Allan, last thoughts?
Yeah, George, just that I wanted to reiterate what I was mentioned earlier about, I think you've been right on to look for a catalyst, and when I start to see that consolidation, I like that. I also saw something the other day, George, that I didn't see a lot of people pick up on the price of gold, but I think it's important. Whenever I see intraday trend reversals, the price of gold's been getting hammered down for a long time.
And then we had that massive $40 move on Friday. I fell out of my chair.
These are the bells ringing of those catalysts you're looking for, George. They got a big intraday swing that's contrary to the trend that it's been having, and then you've got all this consolidation. So I think you're right, George, that we're going to get some good bargains over the next 4 weeks. But this is a time when I think investors really want to be paying attention and, getting your shopping list together, doing your homework, watching these things closely, because, look what we did last year in our tax loss selling contest, George.
40% average in under 60 days.
In 6 weeks.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
And so that's the kind of thing you want to be looking for, and whether you're looking for that short-term play or a longer-term play, buy when things are cheap, and right now we're cheap, but I think we're showing signs that the turnaround is close.
Well, much like a great story, we're going to leave it there. We're going to leave you all hanging to tune in next week because we're going to start bringing great our picks at the table. You're going to see more and more. I'm going to be taking a closer look. Some stuff is going to get cheap enough that I'm not going to wait till the middle of December. So make sure you're watching. And by the way, let's end this off on the disclaimer. None of this is buy or sell, solicitation kind of stuff. Allan and I have our own risk tolerances, our own timelines. You shouldn't be buying anything here because we're buying it. We always disclose if we have any conflicts and things like that. Before you make any kind of decisions, speak to your partners, spouses, financial advisors, everybody, because you've got a totally different risk tolerance from us. All we're doing is pointing you in the direction of where we're going. And by the way, as a shout out to Rob, make sure you take a really close look at IDM Mining, trades of the stock symbol IDM on the TSX Venture Exchange. Have a great day, everyone. Have a fantastic night. Thanks for joining us this Monday, and we'll see you again next week.